Hey, I've got a question for you. Have you been hearing in the news in the last year or so that companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, and some of the largest, most sophisticated tech companies in the world are not requiring four-year degrees anymore for some of their positions? Maybe you've been hearing of something in the news called skills-based learning. And then the last thing, you may have heard of something called apprenticeships. Well, stick tight because I'm going to share with you today using some personal examples of myself and what others that you probably have heard and recognized say about how the IT is changing, education is changing, and how there's big opportunities, especially today, working with companies like Hope Training Academy. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to another episode. Yeah, so hopefully that got your attention, and maybe you've been seeing this in the news, or maybe if you haven't, but I offer you to go ahead and do a search about companies like Google and Apple not requiring four-year degrees. Now, I'm not here at all to knock anybody in college. I myself have a four-year college degree. Our sons are going through college right now, and lots of people have had fantastic luck and opportunities through going to any college. Really, the sense and the purpose of this video is to share with you some of the things that we at Hope Training Academy have learned over the years of creating this, and really speaking with our students who, our students that in the past couldn't afford a college degree. And some of them, a lot of them come to us and feeling they're not worthy, or they're not able to, learn enough to be wanted, I guess, enough by companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, if you're in the tech. So we're here today to demystify some of that. We are also going to have Mark Zuckerberg, Donald Trump, and a lot of others that you may have heard of talk and give their opinions, Elon Musk, with some YouTube videos. And then we're going to follow it up with some distinct examples, using an example, which is myself, and kind of share my story of how I've went through, and kind of representing my story. And, our students have lots of fantastic stories as well. So let's just go ahead and start. So you see on the slide. So we are talking about Hope Training Academy and our IT apprenticeship program. Right now we have our IT apprenticeships in PCs, desktop support, networking, and cybersecurity, with a lot more we're developing on the way. We provide our students industry recognized credentials. These typically will be something like A+, Network Plus, Security Plus. What these credentials mean is they could take to 10 to 16 weeks to achieve, but it's very focused knowledge. And then once you have that certification, you pass the test and you put that on your resume, this is something that all of the employers that I've mentioned and lots more will recognize as a minimum competency that you can gain through Hope Training. And also the whole entire workforce. And if you watch some more of our videos, and I'm speaking about here in Indiana, where we know about this, as also other companies mentioned like Google and Amazon, and large companies like Eli Lilly are changing, thank goodness, to something called skills-based hiring. And that means that they're really not paying attention to so much as your 4 degree, or weeding you out if you have a college degree or not, which is great news for all of our students. But it's really, what are those specific skills and experience, more importantly, because it's not just learning, but have you demonstrated via previous jobs or an apprenticeship that you know what you're doing. Okay, now we're going to share some video from YouTube. This is a video that's called How We Hire at Google. I think it's kind of cut off, but you can go to YouTube and search this. I just want to point out a couple of things right from Google's mouth, confirming their process.
Check out the video in the description for our tips on how to make your resume stand out. One thing to point out here is that we don't require degrees from certain universities, or a university at all, depending on the role. And your GPA is only part of your application if you're a recent grad.
After you submit your application, we have a team of highly trained pros who look over your resume and connect the dots between your experience and roles at Google. There's no one kind of Googler, so we're always looking for people who bring new perspectives.
So isn't it, sorry to interrupt, but I love how they said they want to bring new perspectives, and you'll go on a little bit further. I'm going to skip ahead to talk about how they really are looking at your experience. And that's really exactly what we're preparing you for at Hope Training Academy, is getting those industry standard certifications, and then through our apprenticeships, getting you the necessary on-the-job training. Let me just skip ahead a little bit to one other part and we'll continue.
So don't worry, you won't be asked any brain teaser questions. Our research shows these types of questions aren't useful for assessment.
All interviewers are trained and use standardized rubrics so that they're consistent and confident in their assessments.
Regardless of the job you've applied for, there are 4 attributes that we look for. First is general cognitive ability. We want to hire smart people who can learn and adapt to new situations. So this is about how you learn and solve hard problems in real life, not about GPAs or test scores.
Second is...
Don't you love that? They are talking about how your cognitive ability is and your ability to solve problems. I mean, I love that. Let's not worry about GPAs if somebody got, an A in a bowling class or a knitting class. Love it.
Role-related knowledge. It's pretty straightforward. We want to make sure that you have the experience, background, and skills that'll set you up for success in the role.
Third is leadership. We don't just look at job titles, since different team members will need to step into leadership roles and contribute. We look for examples of things like being a team player and navigating challenges to make an impact.
And last but not least is Googliness. We want to make sure that you can thrive here, so we look for signs of comfort with ambiguity, bias to action, and a collaborative nature.
Isn't that cool that, one of the most powerful tech companies in the world is talking about how important it is to talk about you and your uniqueness and what kind of problem-solving skills you've demonstrated over your life and career. Well, that is, really refreshing. And, these apprenticeship programs that we've got, it's really made to do that. And even though, relatively speaking, it's, our apprenticeship program is about a year. Obviously, a career is much longer than a year to demonstrate your problem solving, but it'll actually get you going in the right direction of doing something you love. And that actually reminds me of a funny analogy while we were sitting here, is a movie called The Internship. If you've ever seen that, with, I think it was Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, when two out of work salespeople, in essence, went to Google for an internship, and if you've never seen it, it's hilarious. But I won't spoil it for you. But a lot of the things that they just said in this little quick video about their hiring is very consistent with the movie. Okay, I found one more video I wanted to share, and this one is people that are very prevalent in the business world and tech world, and I wanted to put some of their thoughts out there as well on this. Once again, this is not to convince, this is really to more highlight about what we're talking about and what we're doing here in terms of the apprenticeships and skills-based learning, and really that you're in the right place when you're thinking about, or you already are here with Hope Training Academy. So enjoy.
Well, oftentimes business education today, and I see it all the time, kids come out of college, the best colleges, Wharton and Harvard and Stanford and some of the great business schools, and they'll come out and they won't have practical experience. There's too many case studies that aren't practical.
We ask kids that are 16 to 18 years old to make $100,000 debt decisions when they go off to university. And they're not prepared for that. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. They just assume, okay, I'm going to pay 4 years of education at $25,000 a pop, and when I come out the other side, somehow I'll be able to pay it back. Right. That's not how life works anymore.
There's no need even to have a college degree at all, or even high school. If somebody graduated from a great university, that may be an indication that they will be capable of great things, but it's not necessarily the case. If you look at, say, people like Bill Gates or Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, these guys didn't graduate from college. But if you had a chance to hire them, of course, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, okay. I think.
Yeah, before we hear from Mr. Zuckerberg, I don't know if you've heard that story about Bill Gates, but when he was at Harvard going to college, all of a sudden he saw a picture of a PC that came out. I think maybe it was called the Altair, but it came out while he was in one of their dorms, and there was a big need, which he figured out it didn't have a disk operating system or DOS or software. So the story goes he dropped out of college with his roommates, Steve Ballmer and Paul Allen, and they went, and this is all very well documented. They went in, created Microsoft, created an operating system, and voila. So anyway, let's continue.
I think having the flexibility to explore a lot of different things, which you can do when you're in college, which is one of the amazing things about being in college, is you can work on all these hobbies and code a lot of stuff and try a lot of different things. It's this amazing flexibility that I think most people take for granted. And once you decide, okay, I'm going to start a company and I'm going to do it with someone else, you immediately now need to convince someone else if you want to change your mind on something. And I think people really undervalue the option value and flexibility. I think explore what you want to do before committing is really like the key thing, and keep yourself flexible. And no, I think that's. I
agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually kind of funny. If you think of what is education, you're basically downloading data and algorithms into your brain, and it's actually amazingly bad in conventional education because it shouldn't be this huge chore. Someone's standing up there kind of lecturing at people, and they've done the same lecture 20 years in a row, and they're not very excited about it. And in fact, I think a lot of things people learn there's no point in learning them because they never use them in the future. Because a lot of kids just in school kind of puzzled as to why they're there.
The people who are doing the work that we care about are figuring out what to do next, not following the person who told them what to do next. And the problem with most colleges is they are high school, but with more binge drinking. The entire purpose of a good university is to give you a foundation to fail, not a foundation to get an A. And if you graduate from college with straight A's, you have to do some serious soul searching as to why you chose to spend your time doing it.
And I want to stop, and I couldn't agree more. It's about failing. College should teach you to fail. And as you'll hear a little bit my story coming up, that's the biggest way, in my opinion, to grow a successful company. Because if you did it the first time and nothing ever went wrong, well, then everybody would be, Bill Gates and Elon Musk, right? But it's that process as humans that we have to do things and learn and fail. And really, with college, that's what was my experience. If you don't really learn how to fail in, preparing to go out into the real world, because guess what? You kind of take those training wheels off when you get your first job. And if you're not set to do that, a lot of times people get very, very disappointed. So let's just listen to a couple more here, and then we'll go on to share a little bit more about my story to hopefully inspire you to that you're in the right place.
The A students work for the B students. The C students run the businesses, and the D students dedicate the buildings.
It's like the newspaper industry, right? More printing presses, more big buildings, right? Makes us look grander. We have brains that we're putting them out there. There's a point of diminishing returns in terms of what it's worth for a college education and how much debt you're willing to saddle yourself with.
A lot of people follow. A lot of people are followers. Generally, if not, we'd have problems. We have too many entrepreneurs. We have too many successful people. Look how many people go through business classes. If everything you needed was in that actual business class, in that book, it'd be too many successful business people. Right. How many people graduate? Matter of fact, the professor wouldn't have the time to sit there and teach you. That knows this book damn near verbatim, page by page, he knows it, right?
Because he'd be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's too busy. Yeah. I'm doing way too much right now because I got the palm trees and we selling so much stuff that I'm doing that I ain't quite got time to teach no mother class right now because I'm winning.
And so when you walk into a boardroom with a bunch of guys in suits who all went to college, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, because they read a bunch of words. I've lived a bunch of life.
Well, that's true. Their law degree doesn't intimidate you, in other words.
It kind of evens us out, whether they know it or not.
Where do you think you get that self-esteem from? Seriously. I mean, most guys...
My mom, first and foremost, but then just living life. Like, you know, being in real situations and happen to be a person of high integrity and honesty and, you know...
You never embarrassed yourself?
No, of course not.
You never walked in and said, "Oh, everybody thinks I'm ignorant here. I'm stupid."
I don't feel ignorant.
Right.
You know, I don't.
Right.
I felt like I came up in a situation, or a time, you know, where I wasn't afforded certain opportunities, and if afforded opportunities, I could be Oprah. I could be Bill Gates. I could be Warren Buffett.
Okay, so you know, there's a lot of good data out there, and like I said, I just wanted to bring some really successful people to share some of their comments. Once again, to reinforce not that there's something horrible about college, and if you go into college, you're not going to succeed, but it's really to talk to you, our students, the ones maybe that can't afford college. That's why when my wife, Kara, and I started Hope Training Academy, you know, even still to this day, we've never charged $1 of tuition to anybody, because it's our job as the entrepreneurs to go out and do the things that make it possible for our students to succeed. And that's going to be continually what we do. So let me switch really quickly and share some more information about myself and my background, and really to kind of reinforce what's been going on here. And then we'll wrap this video up. Okay, so now I just want to share a little bit about myself and my background, how it applies to what we're talking about here, and hopefully that shares some inspiration. Okay, now I just thought I'd share some information about myself and my background, and how it applies to what you're doing, and why I'm sitting here sharing Hope Training Academy with you. So, really, I'm going to be a case study. So this all starts back in the Wayback Machine for all you younger students out there, 1979, 1980, where something called the Atari 800 computer came out to the market. And as you see on here, in 1979, 80, Atari 800 was about $1,000. And today's day, it's about $3,000. I mean, back there, it's equivalent to about $3,700. So it really, you know, for a young kid back then that wasn't even in his teens, that was a lot of money, and it still is a lot of money. So then here's a picture of it. So this was, you know, a whopping 1.7 megahertz, 48K of memory. It had a storage cassette, and see the thing for you young kids over here. This is called a tape cassette recorder. So the older folks like me know what that is, but this would look like a cassette tape, which they used to have music on. And that's how you listen to your favorite music. So you would put this in there, and it was like a tape, and you hit the button, and then it loaded the program. And then if it take like 20 or 10, or sometimes it could take 10 minutes. And if there was a flaw in the tape, it caused the program to stop loading. What you had to do is hit stop, rewind it, then it would take more time to rewind and do it again. So it's not like today where it's instant click and boom, I'm playing Fortnite or Call of Duty. So that was the very first, I guess, reason to help me get to find out what I wanted to do, and why I'm probably sitting here talking to you in a one-way situation. So this is really what my room looked like back in the 80s. So if you've ever seen the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick, well, that was me, and that was my room. And literally, you know, went to school. I did play sports on all the sports teams, but then, you know, literally I was writing games, writing software, learning, playing video games, a lot of really fun stuff. You know, didn't go to prom, or didn't really know what girls were too much, because, you know, I guess this would be classified as my girlfriend per se. And then just over the years, you know, I created all these different technologies and all these companies. And really, all this I mentioned is really not at all to impress you at all. It's really to impress upon you that I'm a good example of a case study of exactly what the people in the video were saying. You know, I went to college at Indiana University, got a 4-year degree, computer science, and I went through Kelley School of Business. So while those were great and everything, they still didn't teach me anything about any of these companies that I created over the years, which I'm going to highlight a couple of them just to share. So the first one is in 2002, Dream Authentics. It was the very first of its kind arcade that played multiple arcade games like Pac-Man and Centipede in one unit. And I would just remember after I got out of college, I was collecting full-size arcades. So I'd go to the auction, I'd buy them, I would drag them all the way home, drag them down the basement if they still worked. We'll play them, and then eventually you'd play them long enough, and one or two things happen. You'd either solve the game 1,000 times and you got sick of it, or it broke. And in which case there was really nobody around to fix them, so I had to learn how to fix and repair them. And I got sick of them too, and so I would then have to drag them out. These are about 300 pounds. I would drag them out of the basement, drag them up the stairs, drag them to the auction. And after a couple of years of this, I said, well, there's got to be a better way. So what I started doing is putting software, Windows, not Windows, actually DOS computers at the time, and putting something called emulators on those. And so I kept making them and experimenting them. And at the time, my house was filled with arcades in the basement, in the garage. And I would have my regular job of 8 to 5, working for our family business. And then my, 5 till 3 in the morning, working on building my video game company. And so it was something that I was always very passionate about. And I went out and I solved a problem. And, this, like I said, this was not even my regular job. My regular job was part of our family company where I designed hospital information systems and transcription and dictation systems for hospitals. So this was all what I did on the side. And, I was honored a couple of years ago that I got a call from the International Video Game Hall of Fame and was recognized for the work that I had done in arcades, and also my wife and I had done with our charity Video Game Palooza, which Hope Training Academy is part of. And, it's just an honor. I mean, Billy Mitchell, who's in this picture, who's recognized as the world's actually video game player of the decade back in the 80s when he was the high score champ of Pac-Man, Centipede, Donkey Kong. So those were some of the people with Walter Day that are inducted. So really an honor, and something, like I said, not to impress you, but impress upon you that this is a passion of mine. And to be able to create a company and products that makes people live happier, make communities happier, people happier with our coding and our game development. And really the Dream Authentics, we brought the family, and we still bring families together where the young kid can play a nonviolent game, and the parent who's grew up in the 80s like me can get together and create great experiences. So it's really a blessing. Even got to work with and meet with, people that have been my heroes. In this case, Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari, which I mentioned. Chuck E. Cheese is a fantastic guy, great entrepreneur. We met at in this case, we were in LA at a Video Games Live concert that we helped sponsor and tour for many years with my good friend Tommy Tallarico, who's a music composer, and toured around performing video game music in concert theaters all over the country. So once again, just super amazing. And then a little bit later, highlighting a second company called iRecord, which is a software that I created there I am back in 2005 at a University Park Police Department, where it was one of our first clients. So we created, when I found out there was a law in the state of Illinois that made homicide interrogations mandatory. Well, all the police departments were using were tape recorders or paper and pencil, and nobody, believe it or not, was recording anything. So we created the very first system, which is called iRecord, that was the kind of the record keeping, the authentication of video and audio in a police interview room, so that they could retain the interview across a company network. And nothing existed. So we created this from scratch. I went into a police department, had never been in before, and took notes in terms of what they wanted, and we ended up creating this. So once again, repeating with Dream Authentics, repeating with iRecord and all the other companies that I've created. None of that, I didn't learn any of that stuff in college because when I was there, we were on mainframes, and I never even worked on a PC until after I graduated college in the early 1990s. So everything I've learned about PCs, networking, technology, I kind of just taught myself with books and magazines and practical experience with, for example, experience. I did my own apprenticeship because I probably took apart, 50 arcade machines and took them apart to nothing and built them up from scratch. So I kind of became my own expert on, since no one had existed like this before, on creating arcade cabinets for the home. And still to this day in 2022, we're still selling them all over the world to some of the top companies in the world. And same with iRecord. We created this that didn't exist before because it was based along a law. And we, myself and my business partner, we had our 8-to-5 job. And then he was an engineer for Pinnacle, which is a big video broadcast company. And we both worked late nights, late hours. And we didn't get paid for, years, 2 or 3 years. And then eventually we started selling enough where he could get paid to quit his job. Then I would get paid. And the wonderful thing was that a year or two ago, we were able to sell our company, Word Systems and iRecord, to investors. And we had built over 6,000 installations all over the world. And that all just stemmed from, creating something that was a need, once again, to give hope and inspiration, hopefully, that it really boils down to, being passionate. So all these late hours and work, a lot of people think it's like, hey, everything, it just must be so easy for you. It's like, gosh, you were just born to whatever. And it's like, no, it's incredible amounts of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of learn. So, learning, working with people, those are two things that continually learning and doing that passion. Because if you don't have that passion of what you do and loving what you do, and, so a lot of people get tired, when they come home from work, at 5 or 6. But then to rest and recharge and then do it again until midnight, 2 or 3, to serve other customers because you're creating something that you feel you're excited about and sharing it with others. So all of these companies that we have created and are part of our companies all are related because, as you see up here, it's to do what you love. And, in this case, and I put my glasses on, as you can see on the top, we innovate human empowerment services through technology that inspire people to dream and grow. That's the short of it. And we really have that with the opportunity to serve you with Hope Training Academy. Beep. So in summary, hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's meant to be inspirational, informational, and educational because, that's what we're here for. We are here to help you to get where you want to go in your career, whether it's starting a new career in IT. You've got people here who care for you and want to help you succeed and will. And we've helped lots and lots of students already, and we have lots and lots more too. So hopefully we will see you very soon in one of our courses. If you haven't called, please call us. Come to hopetrainingacademy.org. Register for one of our apprenticeship programs. Get interested and see if you don't know if you like IT or if you will. Come and talk to one of our counselors or success teachers, myself, and let's help you figure out this goal. So We appreciate you and look forward to serving you. Take care. Beep.